Day to you all. Hope all is well. Great day to you all. Great day to you all. Normally, I would say Grand Rising, but because of the topic of this particular message that I want to share with you all, I won't say Grand Rising. So, I entitled this message, What Causes You to Stand? I had to shorten it up, but it is the concept of what causes our physical vessels to stand, right? So I've been talking about a lot with you all pertaining to the electrical and magnetic field, right? And helping you all to understand these two energies and what they represent, right? And I'll show you a picture also of what the energies represent as far as in the electrical magnetic field. So we know there's a lot of people that obtain these particular substances, whether it's wine, beer, hard liquor, whiskey, what do they call it? Several different, terminologies that they use for it. And this is a substance that a lot of people intake in their system, right? So pertaining to the electrical magnetic field, for those of you all that don't understand this is what I'm going to be sharing with you all. I don't know how long this message is going to be, however long it may be. So you all that are celebrating quote unquote Father's Day and Juneteenth weekend, or just outside of any holiday, this is a substance that you all gravitate towards quite often, quite frequently, and you all don't understand this particular substance and why it has a certain type of effect on your body. And we've all seen it. Some of you all, as well as myself in my younger years before, I wasn't a heavy drinker, but I used to party. And, when you go into clubs and certain bars and stuff like that, especially when we're younger, this is a substance that we've all have partaken in. So it's very important. What I want to share with you all is it's very important pertaining to this, right? So when we talk about the electrical magnetic field, do you all understand that is what causes you to stand? It is your electrical and your magnetic field which causes you to stand. So those of you all that are coming into this live to receive this message, or just to be enlightened on the substance that you are and what you are doing to yourself, right? Now we know the destruction that this substance can also cause. I remember sharing from the Apocrypha, from the book of Edra, I believe it was chapter 3, pertaining to this particular substance. It is also noted in the biblical context in the King James Version of the Bible as well. But what you need to understand is what causes you to stand. What causes you to stand, and how this particular substance causes you to fall, and why that is. Right? So those of you all that are interested in knowing how this substance, when you intake this particular substance, it causes your electrical magnetic field. It causes a disruption in that electrical magnetic field. And the electrical magnetic field, which is horizontal and vertical. Those are horizontal and vertical lines, right? That govern the physical body as well as the electrical magnetic fields in the light body, right? These are the two polarities that govern those fields, right? And when we talk about governing those fields, as they are, the electrical is the masculine energy, which is the positive. The magnetic field is the negative, and it represents the feminine energy. And that feminine energy, that is the vertical line. The horizontal, representing the electrical field, it is the it's the horizontal, which is, straight up and down. In the vertical fields, when you extend your arms, both arms vertically, it extends, it is what creates the cross, right? So on these substances, what happens, right? What happens? And I'm not going to talk about the things that we know alcohol happens. I'm talking about a scientific type of knowing, right? So we know the outcome of this particular substance, right? We know the destruction that it caused, but there's a greater disruption and a destruction of your electrical magnetic field. This is what I want to bring to you all, because you all are already, what type of destructions that this substance causes, right? A disruption in your behavior, as well as, most importantly, where I'm coming from is the balance. What causes you to be balanced? What causes you to stand upright? Which is the electrical magnetic field. And this substance, which has a lot of ethanol, the same thing that we put in our cars, that's what alcohol is. For those of you all that did not know that, right? You know what type of brand you like, you know what type of beer, wine, whatever you prefer, it does not matter. But what I'm bringing to you all is the importance of you understanding what this substance causes a destruction in your physical anatomy, your physical form, and what causes you to stand, and how this substance causes a disruption in the electrical magnetic field. You ever got so tipsy or drunk before, or seen this from another person, and their balance is very off, right? They are unable to stand, or it causes them to fall, right? It causes them to fall. And as they try to, try to stand upright on this particular substance, they're you can see it in their balance. You can see it. Some of them fall, hurt themselves, and everything else. And you've also indulged in this type of substance, then you also understand the type of disruption that it causes in your electrical magnetic field. But what I want to help you all to understand is, it is because of the electrical magnetic field, that is the reason why you are able to stand upright. Once again, that is the reason why you are able to stand upright, is because of the horizontal and the vertical lines, which represent the electrical magnetic field. And as they turn counterclockwise and clockwise, the electrical field, which represents the masculine, as I mentioned, these are the fields that govern, right? So this is the mother and the father, these two electrical magnetic fields representing your EMF shield, right, of the award body. So what causes you to stand is these two energy fields, which is electrical and magnetic. One horizontal and the other is spinning vertical. And that is why we are able to stand. So as you intake these particular substances, beer, wine, liquor, this causes a disruption in your electrical magnetic field. And you can see it, right? You can see it. You can see it when you are amongst people that drink and they've had their limit. I would say they've had their limit, and you can see a certain type of behavior. So I'm not talking necessarily about the behavior, but I'm just talking about right now, because you are already knowing what these substances can bring out, right? Violent acts, also, especially people get behind the wheel and what it causes when people are intoxicated and they get behind the wheel. The violent acts, because you can say something to that person that has this substance inside of them and they cannot comprehend on a certain level, which is tied also into spiritual warfare pertaining to that, right? But I want to help you all to understand the destruction of these substances when you intake them and what they do to the physical form, right? That is visible to you all. It is something that you can visibly see. When a person is intoxicated, you see. But I want to help you all to be able to understand what you are seeing. And the more understanding that you have, the more wisdom that you can take into your everyday actions or throughout your daily courses to sustain yourself a lot better than what you have been, right? Because if you cannot help to sustain your own life, that's a major problem. That's a major problem. If you don't understand what it takes for you to sustain your life, what it means for you to, take care of yourselves the way that you should. So I want to bring this out to you all as I was just sitting in my car, and it just came across my mind to speak about. So, and I know, this is quote unquote Juneteenth, Father's Day weekend for those of you all that indulge in, such pagan holidays. And outside of the holidays, this is something that you all might be addicted to. There's a lot of people that are addicted to the substance of alcohol, whether it be beer or liquor or wine, right? And anything else. But right now, today, I just want to share this with you to help you understand what causes you to stand. And that is your electrical magnetic field. They are spinning counterclockwise and clockwise. One horizontal, which is straight up and down from your head to your from the crown chakra to the root chakra, and then the vertical axis is what represents the magnetic field, which is spinning vertical, and that is what's spinning in a counterclockwise, which means it is spinning from left to right. So there's a vertical spin that spins left to right, and you call that spin the magnetic field, and it represents the negative, the magnetic energy. It is the negative, right? And I'm not saying like negative far as in personality wise. I'm talking about scientifically, it is the negative component, right? And the horizontal field, it spins clockwise, which represents the electrical field, which represents which is the vertical line. The vertical line representing the electrical field, which is the positive, and that represents the masculine, right? So when I mention about these two energy fields that govern the body, those fields is what causes you to stand. Those fields are what causes you to stand upright. And on these substances, it causes a disruption in that electrical magnetic field. There's a chemical compound when you obtain these particular substances and you partake and drink these particular substances. It causes a chemical imbalance, and it shuts off the electrical magnetic field. So the more and more you drink, the more and more intoxicated that you become. It is like a full battery. Okay, the first drink, you're at a full battery. By the second drink, that battery is getting lower and lower and lower. And the third, the fourth beer, whatever you all, however much you can intake, you can look at that system like that, what you are depleting, right? And I believe that this information, for those of you all that care to help be able to sustain your life, right? For your body to function in the way that it should without any disruptions. And this is how the system is set up, to cause disruption in your physical anatomy. That way you won't be able to function at your fullest potential. Right? You all won't be able to function at your fullest potential. So this substance, it causes your electrical magnetic field to shut off, to shut down. Number one, these substances, they operate in the bloodstream. You know, this is how they say the alcohol blood level. You heard that terminology before pertaining to these particular types of substances. So it disrupts not only just the alcohol, once it get in your system, the blood, which has a lot to do with your electrical field. For those of you all that don't know, in the blood lies the plasma. It lies the plasma, which is a part of the electrical field. It's connected, and the blood flow flows from head to toe, from the crown chakra all over the body. We know that, right? And it affects your neurons, which is also, the neurons operate also within the electrical field. So when I say when you obtain these particular substances, and this is what causes you to fall, this is what causes a person that is heavily intoxicated, this is what causes them to not, their balance is off, right? They try to stand, and they may be able to for a certain period of time, but they're going here and there, right? You know how they would, you know, submit, if you would submit to a DUI test, not something that you have to blow in, but I'm talking about, you know, walking a line and, you know, all of those different exercises that they would have you to do, to determine whether or not you're driving under the influence, right? So what causes you to stand is the electrical and magnetic fields. That's what causes you to stand. What causes you to fall on these particular substances, and what is happening to those two fields, is that that chemical compound that you are, that substance that you are partaking in and taking into your physical body, that is what caused this disruption in the electrical magnetic field. And it's more than a disruption, because it shuts down the two electrical and magnetic field. This is why it is also heavily promoted in society today, right? To get you to fall. And not necessarily, when I say fall on this particular level of me explaining how it is, how many liquor stores are there in different type of neighborhoods, in the grocery stores, how many bars, how many clubs, you know, this substance is very disruptive, right? So we know that this is something that you already know, that you know the outcome of a person that is influenced by this particular substance, what it causes, what kind of destruction it causes. So you already know the destruction that this substance causes, but you don't understand the cause of this destruction and what it is destroying as you partake into it. It causes a disruption in your electrical magnetic field, to the point, as I mentioned about the battery, the first drink, the battery is on full. The second drink, that battery is, the electrical magnetic field is what I'm referencing to the battery. The more you more this field shuts down, the more the field shuts down. So, sorry y'all, I paused for a moment. AI summary. I'll talk about that in a minute. I just came across an Elon Musk video and some of his constituents, and how they figure that God is non-existent and they can create a AI God, right? God, for them, they say God is not real. So, and I believe that they're also, this is why this AI summary, and I told you all about it. I'm going to go back into the topic, but I'm just saying, they are gathering information to create this AI summary. I know God is real in my life, and not just in my life. I know, and I've shared some of my life testimony to help you out to understand that the presence of God is definitely real. So, and what it means to be God, a vessel, a chosen vessel of God, to where you know, you become the anointed one, or the Messiah. And what the Messiah represents is God in the flesh, right? Of whoever he chooses to operate through. So, pertaining to this Elon Musk and his constituents, and this information that I know that they're trying to create. So this is what AI summary is, because when I go across other people's lives, AI summary is not present at all. So they are gathering data from certain individuals that they know are anointing, or have this anointing, which is the presence of God within them. So they are collecting information to put into a false representation of the Antichrist, the deceiver that they will create as God to, you know, fool the people. But this is what they do, because pay attention to AI summary. If you ever go across and enter in other people's lives, you won't see AI summary present. No matter, it could be very highly intellectual information that they're putting out there, but specifically they want to obtain and access certain information from individuals like myself that have this anointing, which is being a chosen vessel that God operates through. So the information that I bring to you all, it is from a very from the spiritual realm, and it comes through me by way of the presence of the Father, and I give it to the people. So just pay attention to that about AI summary, and then you hear what Elon Musk and his constituents that are of the Antichrist, what they are trying to create, and how they say that God does not exist, but and how they can create God. You know, and this is how they're doing it. They're using these different platforms to search out certain individuals that have the mind of God, which is the spiritual mind of God, right? So this is how they're going to try to obtain or create whatever presence that this Antichrist presence in a form of AI. So just for those of you all that are here, and I've talked about this before, about pay attention to the lives that you enter into. Now they could be talking about very intellectual or you know, different things to enlighten you on, but AI summary is not present in their lives, in their live stream. This is what I'm saying. When I say in their lives, when they go live, you don't see that, because I've been paying attention to that. And I'm like, I don't see AI summary, although they are, you know, sharing very, you know, highly intelligent information pertaining to, you know, history or whatever that's going on in the present time. They are sharing these things, but AI summary is not present. And I spoke about why, because the information that they are obtaining in these books and stuff like that to find out the truth and giving it out to the people on these platforms, it is something that the system already has stored in there. But what the system don't have access to, and what they don't have access to, is the mind of God. So they understand what it means to be a chosen vessel, or what it means to be the anointed one, to be the voice of God, right? It is not that I'm the voice of God, it is that God is present with me. And this is why the information that I bring to you all is so very important. As I come on here all the time, it's never to entertain you all. It is always for your spiritual growth, spiritual truth. It is always wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that I bring to you all. So this is what AI Summary is doing. Just like a court recorder records everything that's being said, that's what AI Summary is doing. It's collecting data from certain individuals that they know have this anointing, as I just explained what the anointing is and what it means to be a chosen vessel of God. So this is how they're attempting to collect the data to create this false God that they are going to present to the world, right, as God, and a whatever it might be, a holographic. I don't know. Maybe I do know. It is going to be in the form of a hologram, right? But this is how they're going to deceive the people. And when I say it to you all, just watch for these things to happen, because it's already happening. And they're collecting data through AI Summary on at least this particular platform. They're collecting the data and storing it to place in a program to deceive the people about a false God that they will create by saying that God does not exist. For them, God does not exist because they are not a part of God's creation. So of course they would have that type of mentality to say that God does not exist. But you can see it is the expressions of God everywhere, right? And those of us that operate in the spirit, we are the expressions of God in the flesh. Those of us that walk in the spirit. As I was talking about the last time I was on live, the two ways, what sets us apart? Why in the scripture it says those that are set apart? So we are set apart because we walk in the spirit of God, and walking in the spirit is God. With God is the what you call the atonement, where the presence of God is with you. That's what that means, with God. Atonement means with God. Anointed means with God, or God is with you. So this is what sets us apart, because you have one part of society, of the human form, operating in their flesh. Those that operate from their flesh, you can see that. You see the difference of the two ways. What sets us apart? Because you operate in your flesh, and that is a whole persona. And me operating in the spirit, being set apart from those who operate strictly from their flesh and are governed by the carnal mindset. Whereas in you walk in the spirit, you are governed by the presence of God, the spiritual mind of God. So just pay attention to that, the AI Summary. As you see, you won't see it in present in everybody live, and pay attention to the conversations, because as I mentioned, the information that people are sharing amongst each other and teaching one another, this is something that the system already has collected. But they don't have access to the spiritual realm. So this is why you see AI Summary here, because they are trying to obtain the knowledge from the spiritual realm to create this Antichrist, or this AI deceiver that they're creating right now. And they're collecting data from those that are with God, right? So just pay attention to AI Summary when you enter in other people's when they're going live on this app. And pay attention to the comment section, to where if you would see the AI Summary pop up, because I've been doing that for months now, since the Most High brought it to my attention that this is what they are trying to obtain, and why I'm seeing that present in my life and not other places where they would be collecting data. right? Just pay attention to the AI summary, as you see here. That just means that they're collecting data, but I don't see it everywhere. When I go entering other people's lives, it's not present. It's not present. But every time I go live, that's because they are trying to obtain spiritual knowledge and spiritual information on a level that they cannot get to. They wouldn't be able to get to God if they wanted to, but they know through certain individuals, those that are anointed, those that are the chosen to be a vessel that God can use so he can operate through, AI summary is present. Just pay attention to that. Go back to the topic at hand about what you see in this picture. And I'm sure there's a lot of that going on a daily basis, but especially on around certain weekends, such as what you all entertain and indulge in as far as in these pagan holidays. So I want to help you all understand what this substance does, right? And I'm also going to bring out something today. I might share with you all. I'm in my vehicle, so I'm not in my house around around the Apocrypha Bible, though I have spoken on these things before, but not putting all of this together as God just brought it to me to do. Why? Because there's a lot of people today and on this weekend that are entertaining themselves with these particular substances. There are people battling daily that cannot function without these particular substances. And they don't understand what they're doing. They don't understand what's happening to them. And this is those of you all that like to drink beer as well. You can get intoxicated off of beer, and it will cause the same disruption in you, as well as wine. You drink too much wine, it will have the same effect on you. So it's not just the liquor and the alcohol beverages, it's all of it. Those of you all, they have this new thing that I've been seeing. People are drinking cut water, right? You drink too much of that, and it's going to have that same type of effect on you as well. But you should understand what you are doing to yourself and what is happening while you're on that. And then you have to understand the importance of the scientific level of why this electrical and magnetic field exists within the human form, because it is what helps you to stand. This is why those substances, when you intake these substances, it causes you to fall, because you are destroying the electrical magnetic field. It shuts down on these particular substances. Therefore, it makes it hard for you to be able to stand up. You see it all the time. You see it on these TikTok videos, and people and thinking that those that operate in the flesh, they find this as a part of their enjoyment. It's fun for them. That feeling that this substance brings to them, this is the mentality that they have. But people like myself who used to indulge in that behavior, not to obtain the feeling of being intoxicated, because it's not a good feeling at all. The experience of the hangover, the throwing up, the alcohol poison when you drink too much of it. And this is a substance that has always throughout, especially in throughout time, the wine, and especially how the King James Version of the Bible expresses this particular thing about wine. It uses different metaphors pertaining to the wine being poured in a new bottle. Which is a you being preserved. It's a metaphor, right? It's a metaphor that's being used to explaining the flesh and the spirit. As well as the Apocrypha in that certain book of Esdras I believe it's Esdras 2. The chapter I'm speaking about is 3, where King Nebuchadnezzar, through this, after they won some type of battle, and he threw something for all the captains and everybody in the kingdom, and they were drinking and stuff like that. And then spiritually, what happened to him while on this substance? Because this is where we get into the spiritual knowledge. So I brought to you the scientific knowledge of what's happening to your body. Now I want to bring to you the understanding and the wisdom, so you can take the wisdom into your daily course and apply it in your life. That's what wisdom is, when you apply it to make you better and to make you stronger. So once again, the scientific form of this substance going into your physical vessel, the electrical magnetic field is destroyed, and that electrical magnetic field is what causes you to stand upright. So when you begin to intake these particular substances, alcohol, beverages, whatever you prefer, wine, beer, liquor, whatever you prefer, and there are different levels of ethanol in certain different whiskeys and tequilas and stuff like that, Patron, and all of that. There are different types of levels, right? So whatever you prefer on a scientific level, it shuts down your electrical magnetic field, and that's what causes you to fall. So to help you to understand the opposite, without those substances, it is what causes you to stand. When you drink those substances, one glass, 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, whatever you can take, whatever you do, it causes you to fall. Do you follow me? It causes you to fall. So that's the scientific of what's happening to your electrical magnetic field, or the light body, or some reference to the auroric body, because it's something, it's inner and it's a shield. The auroric body, meaning the light body, it operates also these fields that are spinning and turning. So what happens once your electrical magnetic field occurs? Now I'm going to bring you the spiritual. So first, that was kind of scientifically about the electrical magnetic field. That's what causes you to stand. And when you sustain or partake in this alcohol, whatever you prefer, it is what causes that field to shut down. What happens when that shield shuts down, right? Mind you, it's 2 fields of energy. It's 2 fields of energy that operates in this counterclockwise and clockwise rotation, horizontal and vertically. So the magnetic field has the ability to push and pull certain energies away from you, right? Certain energies, you can say energies, you can say another name, spirits, different spirits, or different energies, right? Whatever energy you put out there, it's out there. It's out there, right? So being your magnetic field, energy that's pushed out, because it pushes and pull energy out and inward, that's the magnetic field. That's how it operates. It pushes and pull energy. You are a energy receiver. You are also a energy transmitter, where you can transfer energy onto other people. Energy, that's level. I'm going to bring to you now. You understand, when you're on this substance, it causes your electrical magnetic field to break down, or the shield of protection. I would also call that, because now I'm talking about it in a spiritual context, and I'm talking to you on a level of spiritual warfare at this moment. What happens when the electrical magnetic field shuts down? So you observe people on this type of substance, on beer, alcohol, liquor, wine, whatever they prefer, right? You observe them, and when they, and you all are entertained by individuals until it's a violent act that is being displayed. You all laugh as if it is something funny that you are witnessing, because you don't understand what you witness, and then you don't understand what this substance does to the electromagnetic field, and you don't understand the scientific understanding of what these fields operate in, what do. So you all will find a person that you intoxicated, or you say, for instance, you know how people throw a party, a barbecue, or whatever, and instead of them putting limitations on, you know, hey, because we want to have a good time in good faith, we don't want to have a good time to where you are the laughing stock and you are now making a fool of yourself, and now the party, people are not able to enjoy themselves, or now people have to babysit you, people have to pick you up off the floor, people have to clean up your vomit and different things. So you have to pick and choose the level, and this is what I mean by why we are set apart, right? Because those that operate from their flesh, they have a very diabolical persona about themselves, to where you would see a person, or there's no limitations. No limitations. If you throw an event, right, you are responsible for the people that are there, especially if you are providing these substances to them. Especially the people that you invite. This is where your humanity values are being on display. This is where you're being judged. Because if I throw a party and I provide substances, as such, alcohol substances, and then the people that invite, I suspect I should know about some information about them, right? To where, or have a certain type of care. You know, this is where humanity comes in, that I don't want them to make a fool. I don't want them to turn, this is a fun event. I want everybody to enjoy themselves. But I am responsible. You are responsible for those that you invite, as well as you providing whatever you're providing. Whether you say, hey, you can't bring anything, we already have that. Don't bring anything. Don't come already intoxicated or anything else. Or you won't get in. Or better yet, monitor, you know, the intake, or say, hey, we only have this. We're not here, or make that known in the beginning. We're here to have a good time. And having a good time, that's something naturally that you should be able to do without any substance involved. You know how many people that say they want to have a good time, and then they bring in all of these different substances, drugs outside of alcohol, that say, well, this is how I like to have a good time. I have a good time when I'm doing this and I'm doing that. It does not make sense. It does not make sense. So a lot of people are not going to sit in to listen at this. They might listen in from the background, but it is and this is why they would choose to listen from the background, because it is triggering a response inside of them, because this is how they operate. This is how they operate. And this needs to be known. This needs to be understood. So on a spiritual level, what happens to you when your EMF field, which is your electrical and magnetic field, when that field shuts down? Because that's what happens on this level. It begins to shut down. And when that shut down on the spiritual level, somebody that's intoxicated that you know, they begin to act out in a way that you say, I don't know that person. When they're drinking, they turn into somebody else. So this is where the spiritual warfare comes into play, and the spiritual knowledge of you being able to sustain yourself, sustain your energy, sustain your electrical magnetic field, where you are always standing upright and not falling. Because when that energy when the two energy fields fall, you are subjected to walk in spirits, because you are a receiver of energy and you also are a transmitter of this energy. So once your shield of protection, which is your electrical magnetic field, which is rotating on all axes, horizontally and vertically, and I'll show you all a picture of that, and then I'll put this picture back up. But let me show you all the rotational spin of the counterclockwise in the horizontal, the vertical spin of the electrical and magnetic field. I'll show you a picture of how that looks so you can get an idea. Sorry about that. Every time, this is how TikTok be trying to drop the views, because I clicked on it once. I had to go down a little bit in my archive to get it. Then when I get there the first time and click on it to bring it up on the screen, they wouldn't process it. So I had to stroll back down, hit it for the second time, and then it processes. And that's what they do to try to drop views. Mind you, I'm not here for likes and clicks and views. If I can reach one person each time I go on live, that's enough for me. That's enough for the Most High God. So it does not matter. But I understand the algorithm and the tricks that they have going on pertaining to not wanting people to understand the message and to get you all, you know, to shift your focus, because they know your attention span is so little. It only takes, your attention span is so little, right? Unless it is entertainment for you all, that's the only thing that you would sit and be entertained by, unless you're being entertained. And they've been knowing this for centuries. This is why they hosted, you know, gladiators and stuff like that, where they open up these big arenas. They've been doing this for a long time, wanting the people to shift their focus, because they don't want you to operate at your full potential. They don't want you to be able to understand how to sustain your own life. That's not how the system is set up. The system is not set up to sustain your life or to help you live a long life. It's not set up that way. And neither are you when you follow into this arena and into the field of how society is set up. But that's what they do to try to have people drop out. They play little games like that. I click on it one time and then it does nothing. And then I have to stroll all the way back down. So they want people to drop out. You know, they want you to lose interest so very fast. So that's another thing also that you have to master these different planes of existence. The physical plane you must master. Why? Because you must, to master these different planes of existence that I'm going to speak on also pertaining to this. Why it's so important for you to master the physical plane? Why it's so important for you to master your emotional plane? Why is it so important for you to master the mental plane of existence? Why is it so important for you to master to get to the spiritual plane, which is the highest plane of existence? But it's very important that you master those planes, because as you master, overcome. Because the physical plane, that those that operate from their flesh, They love the physical plane. They love the material plane. It's a part of the physical plane because it's material. It's the material plane. It's the material world that helps you all in the physical form to have access to these different types of materials. So therefore, you enjoy the access or the fulfillment. You think you are being fulfilled by operating in the flesh, in the physical plane, so you can have access and be consumed by the world. So when I say be consumed by the world, be consumed by the material plane, but you can access, the things that you chase after of in this physical realm. But once you master that and you come out of the fulfillment that the pleasures that the world bring into your flesh, all the pleasures that the world brings into your flesh, it causes destruction. It causes your destruction. You know how they say you are God, you are generator, operator, and destroyer? Yes, you are destroyer of your own self, of your own destiny. You destroy that completely when you get stuck in the physical plane. And getting stuck, you have not mastered that. You don't know what's happening around you. You can't even comprehend the concept that I'm bringing to you all. Even though you are knowledgeable of it, and I'm giving you the understanding to bring into you the wisdom that you need to overcome that plane of existence, which is your physical plane, where you are not consumed by the world. You are not consumed by the things and materials of this world. So, back into what I'm speaking of, right? Pertaining to, this is the electrical, this is a representation of the electrical magnetic field. And I'm going to pull back up the first picture that I had initially. But this is what the electrical magnetic field, you see the horizontal, right? The crown chakra to the root chakra. And then you see the vertical. It's the arms are extended. That's the rotational spin. Counterclockwise and clockwise spin. So the clockwise is the electrical field and the counterclockwise is the vertical field. So you see how the vertical comes out? The vertical, how the vertical field comes out of the crown chakra down to the root chakras of the feet. And then the rotational pull between the magnetic field, which is the vertical lines. So on that substance, right, as you see this picture here, right, this is how you are rotating on all axes, and this is what causes you to stand. This is why you are standing. This is why you are falling. That's why. That's why. Because this chemical, the alcohol, it shuts down the electrical magnetic field, which causes you to stand. And this is what causes you to fall. And when that electrical magnetic field falls, and when it is not operated, you are subjected to the walk-in spirits. You are subjected to, as an energy receiver and an energy transmitter. This is how walk-in energies enter into you, and then you become a whole nother person while on this substance. You become a whole new character, and I want you to spiritually understand why that is, why your loved ones are unable to recognize who you are, and why you are unable to recognize who they are while you're on these substances. Right? This is why. This is why. Because once the electrical magnetic field shuts down while you're on these alcohol, liquor, wine, whatever, cut water, whatever y'all are into, It shuts down your electrical magnetic field, which is a shield of protection. As I just showed you, you saw how the fields, as they spin on all axes, horizontal and vertically, they operate as a shield to protect you from other energies. Because it is easy for you to get sucked into other people's energy by transfer of energy, and it's easy for you to project your energy onto other people. So you pick and choose the energy that you would like to project on other people. You see it all the time. This goes back to what I said, why there are only two ways that makes us set apart. Those of you, and this is duality. Duality is nothing more but the flesh that represents the darkness, and the spirit, those of us that are set apart, that operate in the spirit, that represents the light. Those of us that are standing to sustain our energy, that are guarded by the electrical and magnetic field, versus those who are not guarded at all. And those that are not guarded at all, that operate from the physical, from their flesh, they are the ones subjected to these different types of principalities. That once this electrical magnetic field is down, this is what they begin to govern over your flesh. They begin to take control of your flesh. This is why your loved ones are not able to recognize the character that you are displaying on these particular substances. And another word to explain that, this is also how to explain a form of they would say demonic possession. But it's all the same. It's all the same understanding of what's happening, what's going on, pertaining to spiritual warfare. But as you see, for the person that's here now in this live, people are used to being entertained. They begin to enjoy the fulfillments that the world brings into their flesh, which separates them completely and disconnects them from the spiritual realm. Absolutely so. So not everybody, because of their attention span as well, and because they enjoy the fulfillments that the world brings into, they enjoy the pleasures of their flesh that they obtain in this material plane of existence. The physical plane is the material plane of existence, and all the things that they get enjoyment out of from their flesh. This is why we are set apart. Those that walk in the fruit of the spirit, and those that operate by their flesh. That's why we're set apart. Two different outcomes, two different, those that operate in the spirit, you are preserved in your flesh. You are preserved in your flesh. Those that operate without the spirit, that operate only in the darkness of their flesh, from the dark night of the soul, right? From the darkness, which is without the light. And they be partakers of everything in this world. Everything in this world, they want it. They want to try it. They want to consume it. They want to do it. And they don't think about the outcomes or the consequences of anything. But all these substances, this is why, as I was explaining the spiritual part of it, why you are unable to recognize who they are. Because without the electrical magnetic field operating, as I showed you on the picture of how they spin horizontally and vertically, pertaining to your shield of protection, which is your EMF field, and how it works, how it operates, what it's doing, and everything else. So those of us that are set apart, that operate by way of the fruit of the spirit, that operate in the light, in the flesh, We are sustaining our life force and the ability for us to continue to stand, as well as to be preserved. To be preserved. So the reason why your loved ones or your friends, and you all would laugh at their behavior, you know, it's just those that laugh at that type of behavior, and you say that you love that individual, you have a care for that individual to where you wouldn't want to see anything bad happen to them. But you can't comprehend that on this substance, that is where the bad things occur. That is how they begin to happen on these substances. So when I talked about the different planes of existence, when I'm speaking about having care or humanity, you know, to say I care enough for that individual, I'm going to make sure that, you know, they stay level-headed. I'll make sure they don't overdo it. I'm going to make sure they don't go overboard. And the reason why people that operate in their flesh, they find that entertaining. They find conflict entertaining. They find when people are heavily intoxicated, they find that historical, you know, where they begin to laugh and find that it's entertainment, because you have demons entertaining other demons. And I'm saying demons, it's energy. It's energy altogether. But these are just different things as I help you all to understand and bring you into the spiritual knowledge of this particular understanding. This is what the spiritual realm sees. This is what the spiritual realm calls that type of behavior. It's demonic, but it is energy. Altogether, it's energy. It's energy. But you all find that entertaining. Okay, they want me to do a puzzle. Let me get this puzzle done, y'all. And then it takes 10 seconds to pop up on the screen. That's crazy. And now it's taking 15, 20 seconds. After I'm telling y'all, the games that this app is playing. But I can see it all. There is nothing hidden from me. I can see it all. But you all find this entertaining. Not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying the behavior of somebody being intoxicated. The behavior of negative energy and negative vibrations. And why is it called negative? Because it is operating without the positive. Therefore, there is no balance. If the electrical field, which represents the masculine energy, the horizontal line, it is what you have to balance out these two energy fields. It has to be balanced. What causes imbalance is these substances, not just alcohol, but other drugs that are out here that you all love to be partakers of. That's what causes the imbalance. That's what causes the negative. And there are certain entities amongst us that are operating in human form. They don't even have these fields. And what they have is an artificial version. It's not the pure thing of the electrical magnetic field. Or they have very little electrical, because different blood groups have different level of plasma in the blood, and plasma energy is also a part of the electrical field. So the less amount of plasma that is present in those that have amongst these different blood groups, that also plays a role, and it should help you to understand why you see what you see in certain individuals. Now, not just from the point of, I'm talking about everything that I'm bringing out. The logic behind understanding the reason of the ways of the people, or even yourself, to be able to observe yourself, to cause and effect for correction. So this is what, this is why I'm here. And this is why the message is here before you as well. To be able to understand and perceive this on such a level that you begin from this message to understand and take the wisdom to operate it in your daily life, so you can overcome and master the physical plane, right? Master your emotional plane, because that's what's wrong. This is why people laugh at other people's hurt and pain. This is why people laugh at people's trauma. This is why people laugh when people are, intoxicated. They find that entertaining, because their emotional plane, they have not mastered that. And that's where humanity lies. Instead of assisting, they would enable that behavior and find it entertaining. Demons entertaining demons. You see a fight break out, and instead of you trying to bring peace, you would rather to let it be, to let it escalate. This is where humanity in the emotional plane, you're not mastering anything. You are stuck in the physical plane. You are still stuck. All these talks about 3D, 5D, actually it starts at the first dimension, the second, the third, but it's the physical plane that is the lowest plane of existence, that operates in the lowest dimensions. And this is where you are. This is why humanity is in this lowest state, because there's been a disruption on a major Richter scale. There's been a disruption on a major scale that causes that to happen. That causes people to operate the way that they operate. There is no balance. And that balance comes from your electrical magnetic field. You cannot have, and one cannot operate properly without the other. But they are both not operating. Or one is operating, which is the magnetic field. And the magnetic field has the power to do what? To push and pull energy, to receive and transfer energy. So without the electrical field, which creates the balance, this is why you see the behavior. And this explains the reason of the ways of the people. This is what you see. What you see is what you get. But this is the logic and the knowledge behind it, and the scientific knowledge and the spiritual knowledge. You're getting all of it right now. And this didn't come from a book, right? Knowledge comes from within. Knowledge comes through me. Knowledge comes from the above realms, which is the highest plane of existence, and that's the spiritual realm. I don't need to have a book to go into these things. But they create books off of what I bring to you all. That's also what that AI summary is. They've been monetizing off the anointed ones. They create certain things, and you all believe, you all believe it. And then you are so forgetful because of your attention span, you don't know where you heard it first at. So you would go and retrieve a book. There's no knowledge in the book. The knowledge comes from within. The knowledge comes through you. Through you. If I was to write a book, although I was not told to do so, I mean by the spiritual realm. I'm a spiritual teacher, a master teacher on a spiritual level, from the higher realm, from the highest plane of existence, and that's the spiritual plane. And what makes you a master is when you are able to master the different planes of existence to get to the highest plane, which is the spiritual plane. But it does not just happen. It does not just happen. And this is spiritual truth. In order for you to become a master of the different planes of existence and to level up, which is to ascend to the crown chakra and to operate at your full potential. And once again, this society is not set up for you to do that. But you follow behind the traditions and you know, like you all indulging in today. Juneteenth, which was a new holiday, and you see these different politicians are talking about, you know, they just made Juneteenth a holiday, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. But those are the traditions that the people follow behind, and it does not make sense. Pagan holidays. Father's Day. It's Father's Day. And then you got men on this app pertaining to, quote unquote, them being what they think, you know, is a holiday to them. Talking about how, you know, Mother's Day is more acknowledgeable than Father's Day. All of those are pagan holidays. And for true mothers and fathers in their children's lives that instill, you know, right morals and values and raise their children accordingly, that are there outside of one day of the year to say you're going to be acknowledged every day. As a mother, I am acknowledged on a daily basis. My children need me on a daily basis to operate and to give them what I have to give as their mother. So as well as you on a father, that is every day, 365 days of the year. You are supposed to be giving it your best. I don't consider Mother's Day a day, and I don't consider any of those anything. But my children, them needing me, they acknowledge me on a daily basis as their mother. As their mother. Just so well as a father. You are acknowledged as a father on a daily basis. And if you're not being acknowledged by your children on a daily basis, and there are different scenarios that cause that. But you see the mindset of those that are set apart, those that operate from the physical. You're not in your children's life on a daily basis. To be acknowledged on a daily basis outside of one day of the year. Do y'all get what I'm trying to say about the men on this app that are talking about they don't see any Father's Day baskets or any father's recognition, and trying to say that, you know, Mother's Day and everything else? I'm acknowledged every day as a mother and operating as a mother with my children, and my children needing me on a daily basis. My presence daily is with them. That's the difference. So I don't need to be acknowledged on a pagan holiday, Mother's Day, to understand that I am a mother, or for my children to show me love, when this is something that we display every day to one another. So what's all the hooting and hollering for? If when you see what I'm saying about those of them that are set apart, if you were consistent in your child life, then it would not take a pagan holiday for you to say, for your child to acknowledge you. You would be acknowledged by your child every day. Even if your presence is not a physical daily presence, but just calling and checking up on your child, or being more consistent in their life where you can be acknowledged as their father more times than one day out of 365 days out of the year. That is crazy to me. And then all the men that are complaining about that I've seen, talking about Mother's Day is, in a sense that it's more valued than Father's Day, because as a mother, I don't get a chance to be, I don't choose that. I can, as a woman, those of you all that, as a mother and what that means, and understand what it means to be a mother and be there for your children. Let me cut off this car, because Lord, this air, I got the air on, everything running. And gas is running low. But anyway, so it does not take one day of the year out of 365 days a year. The men want to be acknowledged on Father's Day. Or even women that, expect that from their children. When you're a mother every day, you should be a father to your children every day, no matter the situation. If you are, not in the same household, you should be a father on a daily basis in some type of form, way, or fashion to your child, as far as in making that presence known more on a more consistent basis. So, it's just the level of the mind. Once again, these people that think that way, these men that operate that way and feel the way they feel about this pagan holiday today, about them not being acknowledged and stuff like that. You self-observation. Self-observation. Cause and effect energy. You want to feel valued as a father, then be a father that is valued. Be a father that's valued. Be a mother that is also valued amongst her children on a daily basis. Not sometime, not 5 times out of the year, not only on summer. In the summer, I get to go here. No. A child needs guidance on a daily basis from their mother and father. But it must be guidance and not anything else outside of that. Guidance and just that quality time. And that's a whole nother ball game for me to get into on a man's perspective. What to a man, what they feel and what they think that makes them a man. It's not what makes them a man at all. For a father who has children and said and feels on today, on this pagan holiday, that you are not valued as a father, well, your consistency, because you wouldn't need Father's Day to know that you are a father to your child. But that's a whole nother ball game. That's a whole nother conversation for another time. But I just wanted to bring that out. And the men that I'm seeing, they're with other men. They're in their videos around a bunch of other men, no family, no children. You know, it's Father's Day, so I want to be by myself and all of this and all of that. Some of them feel like that. They want to be by. I want to be by myself. It's Father's Day. I just, it because they have not mastered the mental plane. Have not mastered the mental plane, and on a spiritual level, when there is no balance between the two energy fields, the electrical and magnetic field, when they are operating with one and not both, that's where the imbalance comes into place. Now imagine somebody who is not balanced within themselves to understand the electrical and magnetic field, who only has the magnetic field, which is the negative. Magnetism is negative, and the electrical field represents the positive. So if you're only operating from the negative, which is the negative component scientifically for magnetic energy, it is negative. So if you're not operating the electrical field, and that field, the electrical field is not operating, there is an imbalance. Therefore, everything is going to be around you. You're going to pull negative energy in. This is why a bunch of men or even women group up, a group of them together, they all mask the same energy. They're all that same energy. They're all operating off the same energy. And it's from the negative. And this is what they're pulling outside of themselves without that electrical field, because that's also a important layer of protection pertaining to the picture that I had up that showed you how the electrical and magnetic field, how it spins and how it looks as it spins, and how that shield operates around the physical vessel and from within, so without of the physical vessel. So many people talk about imbalance, right? They talk about, oh, you're not in balance. You have to balance yourself. Y'all don't even understand the concept of it that I just brought out, what that is. That's your electrical and magnetic field. The electrical is the positive component on a scientific level. The magnetism, the magnetic field, is the negative, the minus sign. And in order for you to have balance, they must be operating together. This is where the scripture talks about the Trinity and the unity of the mother and father. It's talking about the balance of these two fields. So when you all talk about people being imbalanced, y'all don't know what y'all talking about on the level of how y'all express it or try to explain it outside of yourself. It's so much wrong knowledge. You are knowledgeable of it, but you can't just have knowledge and try to teach people off what we are already knowledgeable of. Knowledge is what you are already knowledgeable of, what is already existing. With knowledge, you need understanding to understand the things that you are knowledgeable of. And with understanding the things that you are already knowledgeable of, that's where wisdom come in. Wisdom causes an effect for you to correct yourself and to apply it into your daily course, your daily life. So you cannot, and those of you operating like that, you're operating in balance because the electrical field is shut down. That's the center of it all. That's the most important thing. This is why you see that. This is why you see what you see on these social media platforms from these different individuals. This is why you see so much negativity. Now, do you understand the reason of the ways of the people? Why you see so much negativity from these individuals? because they're only operating from the magnetic field, which is the negative. So those are the energies that pull into them, that join in together and then transfer that energy, and then that energy spreads. And then it comes back. So, to understand the reason of the ways of the people, here you have it. Because everybody that you know how the book of Enoch also tells you you can't drink from everybody's fountain. Everybody don't have right knowledge. Everybody don't have right knowledge. Everybody not chosen to feed and to have the people thirst after this knowledge from the spiritual realm. First of all, it's not something that's given. You are chosen to give this type of information. You are chosen for this. You are trained throughout your whole life to get to this point. This is where they say to help, to go after the lost sheep on a spiritual level of what I've been explaining. Because you cannot talk about the physical without the spiritual. There is no one without the other. Just like you cannot operate only in the magnetic field and not the electrical field. Or without either of them, because that's what causes you to fall. Why are you standing? Because of your electrical and magnetic field. Why do you fall? Because of imbalance and the destruction of your electrical and magnetic field. Why do you operate on these substances where you are unrecognizable to those that know you and love you the most, and they don't even know who you are? Because you have broken that electrical magnetic field. You have shut it down, and now you are subjected to other energies that will enter in and embody your flesh and take over during that time, until that alcohol, until your alcohol level, until that comes out of your system. So imagine for people that's addicted, right? People that suffer from addiction, and on a daily basis, they need whatever substance they feel. They don't need it at all. They want it, right? That's because something is feeding off of them. And the only way what is feeding off of them, the energy that is feeding off of them and feeding from them, can stick to them. This is where the magnetic field, this is why I say the electrical field is so very important. It is a representation of your good nature. It is the balance between the two. And it is just as stronger than the magnetic field. Just as strong. So it's so much, regurgitated information. And it's information, it's not knowledge. And it's definitely not right knowledge. And I don't even like to use the term knowledge so much, because as I mentioned, it is what you are already knowledgeable of. But you cannot operate and learn from knowledge if you don't have understanding. And you cannot overcome if you don't have the wisdom to understand the knowledge and the understanding, and to take wisdom from that. Wisdom comes from your knowledge, and the knowledge that you have, that you are understanding of, the way that you understand it, the way you perceive it. And there's a great deception. So the way that you even perceive things, you are not always perceiving certain things as they are, because nothing is as it seems. Especially for those of you all that is imbalanced. And this message, it was, I thought it was going to be a short message, but, it is what it is. It's very necessary. Very necessary. So even if one individual, heard this message, understand it, and begins to apply it, and begins to better themselves from it, and begins to save themselves, right? Because you are generator, operator, and destroyer. So you saving yourself, causing an effect for correction, right? Separation is preparation. Whatever you need to separate from, people, places, persons, and things, wherever you need to disconnect yourself from, you unplugging from the matrix, meaning you coming out of the world. You're not stuck on materials. You're not chasing these things, because only people that operate in the physical, they chase material things. They live for that. Don't you know that life is so much more living than you chasing material things? Don't you understand that? A lot of you all don't. That's why you chasing the material things of this world. Chasing recognition. Chasing money. Chasing the cars. Chasing, whatever your outside appearance, whatever you want your outside appearance to be, which is not who you are. You want to look like something that you're not. You want to look like who you used to be. But that's not a part of your growth. That's not a part of life. You live to grow old. You don't live to be in the physical form young. But the soul is definitely older than the body. And the soul, it is unchanging. But your body, it is natural for your body to go through different changes. But y'all are chasing a certain look out here. You chasing a certain look for your physical appearance, and your spiritual, you don't even care to understand anything about that. But that's your forever identity. That is what will last when the body drops. It's your soul. It is the spiritual plane of existence that will outlast it all. The physical plane will fade away. The mental plane will fade away also with the physical plane. The emotional plane, all your hurt and pain, because you are afflicted by way of your flesh. You can also afflict your, not necessarily, yes, you can afflict your soul, where you can make when there's no balance, and the soul can be afflicted because the soul is with you to serve a certain purpose, so to speak, be all you can be, your highest potential, to get you there, to guide you so you can operate inside of the physical form at your highest potential. So you can afflict your soul by the soul having to bear witness to how you treat your flesh and how you constantly fight against that side of yourself. All right, the rain about to come. That's right. Come on with it. So when you begin to, grow in understanding, and as I mentioned, that's where your wisdom comes in at. Wisdom is something that you should be applying. Wisdom is applied. Understanding is what you gain from the things that you are knowledgeable of, from your experiences per se. Do I continue to do the same thing, or do I do what is best? What is in my best interest? Do I continue on the same pathway? Do I continue on the wrong pathway, or do I get myself on the straight and narrow pathway? Because on the straight and narrow, it ain't no wrong turns. You've already mastered the things that you knew what was wrong and what was not helping to sustain your own life. So on the straight and narrow, it ain't no, there are not many wrong turns for you to go, because that path is straight and narrow. When you learn from your past mistakes, when you learn from the way that you live your life, when you learn to know, being a part of that world, being out in the world and involved in these material things and enjoying the pleasures that the world bring into your flesh and what it was doing to you, how sick you were becoming, spiritually sick, mentally sick, physically sick, emotionally sick. This is how society has set up society to be, to make you sick on all the planes of existence, that you would throw in the towel. So while y'all are enjoying, or what you think is enjoyment, what you think is fulfillment, what you think, it just, I've been there, but I've learned from that. Where people will gravitate towards certain things to say, well, you want to have some fun? Let's do this. Let's go here. Let's indulge in this. Let's do that. And that's not what life is all about. When you learn how to live life the way that you're supposed to be living life, which is at your full potential. Who wants to live life and you can't even live the full, you're not even expected to live your full course in this society. It is designed and created to shorten that. And then you are falling right into that. You are falling right into that. So when I say nothing is as it seems, certain things that you go through, certain things that you experience in life, it is a lesson for you. No matter how these things may come, how these situations, the effect that they may have on you, but it's a lesson, it's a learning experience for you. And because you lack understanding of the things that you are knowledgeable of through your experience, and not your knowledge is what you are knowledgeable of, what you are experiencing. You are knowledgeable of your experiences. You are knowledgeable of what you're seeing. You are knowledgeable of how these different substances, the things that you choose to do, the effect that they will have on you. You are knowledgeable of these things, and you continue on that same path. There is no understanding. You are stuck in just being knowledgeable, and this is why you're still experiencing, certain things that you are experiencing on a certain level, because you could experience many things. But the concept that I'm bringing to you all about these experiences that you are supposed to be learning from, learning why these experiences, why these things are happening. This is where nothing is as it seems comes into place, because what you think happened and what you think, the things that you are knowledgeable of, it is not as it seems, meaning what you experience and your perception of why those things happen. That is what is not as it seems. And until you come to that understanding, you will never know. You would always, as I mentioned on my last live, you would always be asking why. Why? Because you have not learned anything from that experience, from your past experience. So that's why you ask why. So the reason for your whys is because you have not learned from your past experiences. Therefore, the whys continue to come up. Why? Why this? Why did God allow this to happen? God didn't allow anything to happen. You've done that. You are the cause to your whys. You created your woes. You are supposed to be standing, but yet you are continuously falling. You are stuck in the physical plane. You are stuck. So that's the reason you ask why. Because you ain't learned nothing. You haven't learned anything. So therefore, these experiences are going to continue to come. So until you get to understand how, then the why will be less. Why ask why? You know what I'm saying? Why ask the letter Y? That's what you're doing when you say why. Why? You have no understanding. That's why. You have not learned from your experiences or the experiences that you bear witness to, meaning different experiences that you see from others around you. How you perceive what you saw. That's where nothing is as it seems. Why did this happen to that person? Why? Why did it happen? Well, first of all, understand why you were a witness. Why did you bear witness to that? Start there. Because you are also supposed to be learning from the experiences that are happening around you. Because certain individuals, their destiny on this earth was to teach you about why and how those things happen. That's what you're supposed to be picking up on when you bear witness to other people's experiences, to understand how that happened to them. So it is not applied to you. And their destiny was to be that example for you to learn from, to keep yourself standing. So why is it that you stand? Your electrical and magnetic field, that's balanced. That's what is balanced. You cannot operate one without the other, but that's what's happening to you all. You all, the electrical field is short-circuiting, and the magnetic field is taking over, and that's what's causing the whys. Why is it happening? Why? That's why. But not too many people will be able to even understand that. They are more interested in being entertained than to, understanding. This is why the entertainment business is so big. This is why you see, what that event that they had at the White House recently, that entertainment, because they understand that's what grasps the people's attention. People don't want to understand. They rather be entertained than to understand. This wind feels so very good. I'm glad I cut off the car and rolled down the windows, because, bring on the rain. As the wind blew. Oh boy, I tell you. As they say, as the world turns, or are you just on the surface and the only thing that is spinning is your electrical and magnetic fields? that you don't even know how to navigate. You don't even understand them. So you would never learn or be able to navigate. Not that it should, not that that is something that should be, but as they say, as the world turns, huh? And then that's how you forget that you are the one that's spinning. Everything circulates and spins around you. So for those of you all that are here that, maybe understood a little bit and didn't understand everything, feel free to ask a question. Ask a question. That way your full understanding of it, it can be applied. So the full understanding of it is the wisdom that you should be applying. That's what's applied. That's what should be applied. This wind feels so good. It's just drizzling right now. But that's what should be applied. That's how you overcome. This is how you be, this is how, when we talk about ascension, this is where you be becoming a master as you ascend. As you ascend. And what causes your ascension is your level of knowledge, understanding, and wisdom that's applied for that ascension. So if wisdom is not being applied, there is no ascension. You are stuck. You are in a standstill. You are not operating as you should. So there is no going forward, going backwards, or staying in the present. So that's the choice that people make all the time without even knowing that that's the choice that they made for themselves. They choose to stay stuck and not move forward. Because everything in life, you should be you looking forward to this. You look forward to your tomorrows. You look forward to a greater day. You look forward to, accomplishing certain things that will help to sustain your life and to overcome circumstances, situations, events, or to grow. And as you grow, that helps you to stand, right? This is where in the scriptures pertaining to that growing and what helps you to stand, when something is growing, it grows up tall, right? As something is growing, it grows upward. It grows upward. And when something is stuck, it has no ability to grow. So it is grounded. And when you are grounded, it's no ascension. There's no elevation. You are falling to the ground. And this is where I was speaking on my last live about the woes. The woes come and it make it hard for people to stand. When your woes come, when that great woe come. As I was speaking in my last live about you all understanding, do unto others as you will have them do unto you. But it's not that the others would do unto you what you have done to them. It is the simple fact that what you have done to others will surely, you will reap what you have sown. The energy that you put out there, that negative energy, it is waiting for you in all corners of the of wherever you're traveling. It is waiting for you, waiting to catch back up with you. That energy that you gave to other people, how you treated other people. And that's what causes your woes. meaning your sorrow, meaning your pain, your grief, the ground up underneath you being shaken, making it hard for you to stand. So until you understand, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, that means be good to yourself, be good to others around you. Because that energy that you give is waiting for you. And it will catch back up with you. So you can put that energy, that negative energy, that energy out there. But you better believe to expect that energy to be waiting on you. And also understand the fact that the ones you love the most, as you are putting that energy out on other people and causing certain things to happen for other people, the ones that you say you love the most, you put those individuals at risk because they are in the way of the energy being returned from the sender. So that is also something important pertaining to the magnetic field, of how that push and pull of the magnetic field, how it operates. So the energy that is sent out, it must come back in. So if your loved ones are in the way of that, of you reaping what you sow, then that's where your woes, you put your family members at risk to suffer from the things that you did, or to cause chaos and destruction to fall upon them because of the energy you put out there, and they were the ones standing in the way from that energy coming back into you. So they will be hit by the energy, and you caused that to happen to them because how you treated other people. So you put everybody at risk around you when you don't treat everybody right. And you cause that to happen to them. Although you all like to blame others because you don't understand. You rather be entertained than to have the knowledge so you can be able to understand, to apply wisdom. Wisdom is applied. Knowledge comes from your experience, your experiences, understanding what you have done, why these things have happened. That's all about understanding. This is where your growth comes in at. Everything grows at upward standing. That's the electrical field. That is what causes what you see standing. It's because of an electrical field. Like a tree stands upright, the grass grows upright. You know how lightning strikes a tree? As if you all don't understand that the tree is electrical. It is grounded in the earth. And that's what holds it in the ground, is the magnetic field. And what causes the tree to grow up tall is the electrical field. And the same thing for you. What causes you to stand is your electrical magnetic field. What causes you to fall is when you operate just by way of your magnetic field. And this is where the imbalance comes in at. Because you are operating without both fields. And to operate without both fields, the electrical field is a representation of the light body, of the soul. So you are not the flesh without the soul. As the scripture says, the soul was not made for the body, but the body was made for the soul, being set apart. You operate from your flesh and you disregard the matters of the soul, that positive energy on a scientific level, electrical represents the positive, the magnetic field, the grounded, what you are grounded in, what you are rooted in, whatever nature, whatever energy that you possess or that you operate with. You're not operating with both. There is no balance. You are in balance. And one of the reasons I brought this to your attention today was because I was instructed to, number one, but to also understand, of what's happening in the world today and what's going on with so many people that love, the pleasures that these different substances that the world has, or that, they feel it's something that they have to do. So you don't have to have a taste for alcohol, drugs, or anything. You don't have to have a taste for anything. What is the, and when I'm talking about taste, this is how you know that you are physical, that you are in balance. It is the physical body that operates the magnetic field, push and pull energy. The magnetic field is from your physical form. The electrical field is a representation of the soul, the electrical field. Your twin. The soul is in the image of the body. It's not the body that's in the image of the soul. It is your soul that the body received this image from. But not too many people will understand and comprehend because this is not entertaining for them. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is not something, people don't, I don't need that to live. You absolutely do need to have understanding for the things that you are knowledgeable for from your experience, to apply the wisdom to overcome and to ascend. To ascend is just you leveling up, you raising up, that grand rising, and this is why I don't even say grand rising as I start my lives. I don't even use that no more, because there is not a grand rising that's happening. It's an awakening, and that awakening has everything to do with the perception of how people perceive things, which is not as they seem. So there's an awakening from the illusion, but you still are so far behind, although you are awakening. And you don't even understand how far behind you are. So this is why, I'm here to share this with you all. I did not intend, or I did not, it was just, I don't have a script. This is not scripted. This is spiritual truth from the highest plane of existence. And these are the matters that should matter. You know how they say mind over matter? Well, this is what matters. But this information, this knowledge, this wisdom and understanding, it does not matter to you. Because if you did, you would have got it a long time ago. This is why you are so far behind, even in this awakening. You awakening, in your flesh. Still not even understanding what has caused your awakening. So, carry on with whatever you are entertained by. Please do carry on. Carry on. Because a lot of you will die in the state that you're in. And what should matter It does not matter. It does not matter. What should matter does not matter. As I was speaking in the last live about those that, that mirror effect, those that are operating from the spirit in the physical body. People act like they don't understand it. When we talk about spiritual, you think it's a union between the two energy fields. That union is the electrical and magnetic field. The physical body is the magnetic field, and what is the electrical body? That energy comes from the soul. But as I mentioned, that imbalance and how we are set apart, because the balance comes in these two energy fields, that union, the soul that came in union with the body. That's the electrical magnetic field. That's what that interpretation is a representation of. The soul that came in union with the body. The body is the magnetic field. And the electrical field is the light body, the soul that is housed within. Remember that picture that I showed you all recently in this live? And I was showing you how the horizontal and the vertical axis, that the electrical and magnetic field, how they spin counterclockwise, which is the magnetic, and the how they, and as I'm speaking about counterclockwise, because the counterclockwise, it spins from left to right, and clockwise spins from right to left. So you get what I'm saying? That's the direction that people are in. Those that are, doers of their flesh or operate from their flesh, they're spinning left to right, meaning they start with the wrong. They're in the wrong. They're operating in the, not on that straight and narrow pathway, because the straight and narrow pathway is the horizontal field. It's the electrical. That's what keeps you upright. That's where your good nature lies. So, when you about to do something that is not right for you to do, that's where your conscience, that voice, that inner voice tells you that's not right, but you choose to do it anyway. So instead of you spinning right to left, which is clockwise, you chose to spin counterclockwise, which is to do what what was wrong for you to do. So you do wrong instead of you doing what is right. So you know how that terminology of don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing? Y'all know that saying? Don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. This is the same concept. So it's not even hard for people to even, understand it, but they don't have it in them. They do, but they would rather not do what is right for them to do, or to operate how they should. That's their free will to spin counterclockwise from left to right. Right? Like you rock. One of the things that you see from a person that's intoxicated, that, as I was talking about the alcohol, how it disrupts the electrical magnetic field. And when you can physically see that disruption, because what do? They rock from left to right. They go from left to right. And they go from side to side, that vertical field. And even those characters, right? These demons that say they are Jews, the Ashkenazi Russian, Byzantine, that old empire, and you see how they rock. They always rocking left to right, vertically, because the presence of the electrical field. Remember, I told you in certain bloodlines or blood groups, in bloodlines, right? But in certain blood groups, the level of plasma energy, which is also a part of the electrical field, right? Different blood groups, they have very little plasma energy inside of them. So this is why they are heavily influenced and gravitate towards, and this is why that group also did what they did. Heavily invested into other people's identity and trying to take on the identity, thinking that it will bring more into them on a spiritual level, like they could bring that into them, but they know they can't. They know they can't. They cannot bring something spiritual that does not resonate with them into them. This is why you see from them also, you know, so much hate and deception, because their electrical field, which is tied to the light body, which is tied to a soul, which is tied to the electrical current that, you know, you possess. And this is pertaining to the electrical magnetic field, because the electrical field, it is tied to the light body, the soul. Most of you might say spirit, the electrical energy. They have very little of that. And even within your brain, your neurons within the body is millions of neurons in your body operating in your brain. That also represents your the electrical currents that is tied into the nervous system and the different cells that we have within us. The neurons, the electrons, those different, you know, compounds that make up your human anatomy. So this is something that a lot of them lack, and this is why they lack. This is why they mock and mimic and copy and try to represent themselves as something that they are not. And it's even harder for them to try to keep up with something that they are not. This is why you see, you know, how they say the snake with the slit in the tongue. That's the double tongue that you know I'm talking about. When it comes down to it, they're trying to, you know, hijack another perception of another group of people and take that into themselves. And this is why it's so hard for them to, you know, keep up with that. And this is why you see so much of what you're seeing. But there's a lot of individuals that don't operate like that particular group of people, that also they lack the electrical field. What they have is just a little spark. They have a little spark. A little spark. And then some of us have that extra spark, that not only the neurons, but the neuromelanin. That's the extra spark that we have. This is why we function on the level that we function on. Not that you're seeing it today, but this is at your full potential. What we saw from our ancestors in the past and what they saw as they begin to follow the architecture of our designs, the things that we built, and how they were able to trace where the places that we've been. because we took the architecture with us, and the architecture that we built to this day, it cannot be matched or redesigned. Although they try, but the materials are not up to par. And the structures that they had to physically destroy, that I'm bringing that up because you have to think about the type of mind frame that a group of individuals with that extra spark had to create materials that would last the way that they've lasted, right? Without them being destroyed by those that were without that spark, without that neuromelanin, that extra juice, without the extra neurons. So that's a whole nother thing. But one thing that I want to say that they followed the architecture, because we took it everywhere. Everywhere we went, there was it was the mound builder culture. And then the architecture from the mound builder culture, and the mounds, it was not like that, the mounds were burial mounds that we build. This is how, and then there were things underneath the mounds that we were covering up, that they're now discovering. So even though I'm talking about the electrical magnetic field, even when I speak about the mounds, because that's who we are, we represent the mound builder culture. And those of you all that say you have no culture, oh yes we do, because it's something that is heavily followed still to this day. We are the innovators. And why that is because we were perfect balanced beings within our electrical magnetic field. And this is why the structure of the society that was created by those that have just a little spark of the electrical, but not enough to see a change in them, not enough for them to have it genetically to be, so to speak, a stand-up citizen. Where you're not seeing a chaos nature. And then they try to create that, or not they try, but they've created that chaos nature to also, operate in other groups of people that have lost their sight of humanity. And humanity has a lot to deal with the emotional plane. If there's no love being shown, then there's no care. No care for, Mother Nature, no care for the atmosphere that we live in, no care for the animals, no care for anything. Deforestation, there's no care. So to understand the reason of that, you have to understand this information that I'm bringing forth to you about the electrical magnetic fields, how it operates, and those that operate without the electrical field, and what is the electrical field pertaining to the human form, because all living life forms have an electrical magnetic field. They have electrical and magnetic energy. Plants, everything. Animals also. But everything is not organic here. So only organic matter has the potential form of electrical magnetic. And those that are not organic, they don't have that. So to have this understanding is to understand the reason for their ways. to understand why they are the way that they are. And why you are, because you sought to measure up to them, and the whole time they've been trying to measure up to you. But because you thought to measure up to them, this is what caused your fall. Because you chose to walk after the ways of them. I mean, I could explain this for eons, and I'm sure it has. I've already been doing that for eons, explaining it, trying to help you all to understand what's happening, what are the things that, you know, need to be changed, and you as well. So if you were in this live, I hope that you received everything that you were here to receive. And I hope that you gained enough wisdom to begin to apply it to help you to overcome the situations that you are faced with and that you may run into or cause to happen for yourself. So be good to yourself. Be good to those around you. It's very important that you be good to yourself, because that's what happens. That's how people reap what they sow. That's how you reap what you sow. Because of your imbalance, and that's the magnetic field. Everything, that energy you put out there, it's coming back to get you. That's that boomerang effect. You know how people talk about the boomerang? We've always, all my life I've been hearing people talk about the boomerang effect pertaining to karma and what karma is. Karma is magnetic. It's magnetism. That's what karma is. Karma is magnetic. It is magnetism. That's what causes the boomerang. That energy you put out there, it's coming back to get you. But as long as you're operating one without the other, meaning what? The moral of that was for you to understand what? What is the wisdom that you take from operating one without the other? Operating the magnetic field without the electrical field. What is the electrical field? The positive. The positive, which you should be displaying in all your actions and all your doing. The positive. That's the soul. The light body. So you are not just a physical being. You are a soul having a spiritual, a physical experience. But when you lose the soul to the physical experience, that's where your misery comes in. Because misery is magnetism. Misery, reaping what you've sown. Karma is magnetic. It's magnetism. So I hope that you all gained a lot from this live, because it was very informative. Every detail. So you should be able to, sustain yourself, sustain your life and the life your life forces, the electrical and magnetic field, and understanding what's wrong and what could be right, or what should be right. So the could be represents once again, the magnetic field. And the electrical field is what should be. That is what should be. That's electrical energy. What should be. So your imbalance comes from you operating in your flesh, and you have short-circuited from the spiritual. For those of you all that say, we're electrical magnetic beings. So why are you operating with one and not both? If you have that knowledge, if your knowledge is that you are electrical magnetic beings, then why are you operating only from the magnetic field and not from the electrical field? Why you're not operating both? Why don't you understand the magnetic field is a representation of the physical form? Once again, it was not the body made for the soul. It was yes, it was the body that was made for the soul, and not the other way around. The body was made for the soul, and not the soul made for the body. You are in the image and the likeness of living light. That living light is in the image of the physical form. That's the twin. I went over this in the scripture too. I believe it was Ezekiel chapter 30 and 31. I went over that. But your attention span, your magnetism, the information that you choose to push and pull in you and outside of you, what matters is the information that you pull outside, that you pull to the outside. You received it, but then you pull it, you snatch it from you. And how you snatch it from you is when you operate from that field. So trust me, I wasn't speaking in riddles, and I don't speak in riddles. I speak very direct, and I teach from the direction of which you should be operating and trying to get to, which is, standing upright. So I've helped you to understand all of this on such a greater scale. But it's up to you to keep hold of this information and apply it. This is where what wisdom is. Wisdom is when you are able to apply, and it helps you to overcome. So while you're all, celebrating, which is not a celebration at all. It's not a celebration at all, but this is how you perceive it to be a celebration. So are you, awake, or are you not awake? Because once again, these are things that are not as they seem. So until the next time, people, until the next time that I'm here before you again, right? And for those of you though that were here in this live to receive this spiritual enlightenment, please apply it and take it into yourself and do operate at your full potential. Operate at your full potential. And be careful of you being good to yourself and how you treat other people. So be good to yourself, be good to those around you. Until the next live, until the next message, peace, love, light, and this was Spiritual Truth.